first.
Super pro.
Is this it?
I guess so.
Perfect.
A lot of items.
Then turn the air off.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Vergne Stormwater Appeals and Advisory Board to order. The time is now 5:05. With 4 members present, we do have a quorum. Our first order of business this evening is going to be to consider approval of the minutes from the August 11th, 2025 meeting. You should have a copy of those minutes in your packet, and I'll give you an opportunity to review.
We don't have a packet, but that's all right.
Okay, so without meeting minutes to review. Oh, all right. Will you please, Vanna, distribute those to our members?
We can share. Maybe pass that one down.
So please take a moment to review the minutes as they come to you, and let me know if you have any questions. And once you're done with that, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
All right, and that's Mr. Jeff Moss making the motion. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you so much.
Second.
With that second, let's do a roll call vote. Miss Mary Jane Skinner?
Ma'am.
Miss Mary Jane Skinner, do you have can you voice your position on the motion on the floor to approve the minutes?
Make a motion, we approve them.
There's already a motion and a second. I'm doing a roll call vote. So aye or nay?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. She said.
Ashley Brearley's absent. Lee Hoagland? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Stacy Lanker?
Aye.
Excellent. And Mr. Jeff Moss?
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. Next item of business we have is the public comment period. Did anyone sign up for public comment this evening?
No, ma'am.
We will move on to the next item of business, which is a motion to nominate and elect a chairman for 2026. I would open the floor to your nominations for chair.
I don't know. Can't understand what she's saying.
Yeah, I think Mr. Garvin is happy to continue to serve as chair if there's a nomination. He just is running a little bit
Make
behind.
a motion, we see deceased.
That we leave. You make a motion
Motion.
to keep.
Keep Mr. Garvin.
Okay, a motion to nominate Mr. Garvin. That's by Ms. Skinner. Is that a second by Mr. Moss?
Yes, I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Mr. Garvin is going to be your chair for 2026. The next item of business is a motion to nominate and elect a vice chairman for 2026.
I nominate Stacy Lanker. I'll give up my spot.
Ms. Lanker, do you accept the nomination?
No.
Okay.
All right. I nominate Lee Hoagland.
Yes.
Do you accept?
I accept.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Is there a second?
That is to be used.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Skinner. That motion was made by Mr. Moss. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, Mr. Hoagland, congratulations. You will be our vice chair for 2026. That is all of the business that I have, but Miss Alex has a discussion for you. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Alex.
All right, everybody, I'm going to try and keep it nice and short this year, but it is time for our annual stormwater report. This is going to go over just the data that we have to report for our MS4 permit from July 1 of 2025 to June 30th of 2026. So just a brief overview of what we're talking about. So the MS4 permit stands for the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So it's where all of the stormwater drains through ditches, pipes, creeks, all the things where it drains into our aquatic water systems. So we're issued a permit from the state of Tennessee to discharge stormwater into that sewer system. And this permit's active for 5 years. And in order to discharge that water, we have to meet certain set of state requirements. And so in this presentation, I'll discuss how we're meeting these requirements and areas we can improve and things like that. And that picture there is just our state permit. That's our tracking number if you ever care to look it up on the internet. So just the things that we're going to be talking about today, we'll talk about the public education and public involvement. We'll talk about our illicit discharge detection and elimination, our construction site runoff control, post-construction good housekeeping, and program evaluation. And I'll dive into what each of those mean. I won't just read off this list to you and expect everybody to know what it is. So as far as public education and outreach, so we have to, when we're talking about public education, so the general public, we have to have 3 events that cover the topics of impacts on water quality, impacts of BMPs, proper storage of hazardous materials, and illicit discharge reporting. So we try to combine all of those things into one event. It is possible that we could have to do 12 different events if we were only targeting one of those things per each, and that's the same for each of these different qualifications. So for our engineering and development education, we have to have 2 events per this permit year. We have more than that typically, but that's the minimum. And we have to talk about our ordinances, our regulations, and how construction can affect water quality. And then as far as employee education, we have to train all city employees and new hires on stormwater best management practices, water quality impacts, and illicit discharge reporting. So as far as what we did this year, we did 24 education events. We did 3 of our extreme squad cleanups, which are just the stream cleanups that we do once a month during the warm season. And we did a lot of Project Wet events at schools, at local community events, farmers markets, things like that. And as far as our engineering and development education, so pre-construction meetings, even though we had 13 of them, those count as one event. So before every construction, there is a meeting where we sit down and we talk about, this is what we expect you to do going forward. This is the effect that it can have if you don't follow the standards that we have in place for construction and erosion control. And we also, our second event that we have is pre-application meetings, which is when developers come in and they say, how do I design this site to meet our specific standards? So we have conversations with the planning department, codes department, engineering department, where we all come together and talk about our ordinances and how they are helping to kind of follow those rules and improve our waterways. And as far as employees, stormwater education is part of our onboarding process. All employees received education in 2025, and then we will have to, the permit cycle is 5 years. So because they got it in 2025, in 2030, we will re-educate all of the employees of the city. Basically, we had a video that we sent around where there were 3 separate videos that everybody had to watch, one on BMPs, one on water quality, and then one on illicit discharge reporting. So everybody knows what to do. And then public involvement. And the way that public involvement is slightly different than public education is education, technically, we could just send out mailers, and we could count that as our education. Public involvement has to be face-to-face. And it's the same general setup. For general public, we have to have 3 events that are in person where we address these different things. And for commercial and development, we must have at least 1 that counts those things. So we had our Extreme Squad events. We have this advisory board meeting. We have a lot of different Project WED events, which is just our partnership that we work with Rutherford County, Murfreesboro, and Smyrna, where we all do stormwater events together. And the commercial and development is the same because all of our pre-construction conferences and all of our pre-apps are in person. That counts as a public involvement where they're present for the education and we get to speak face-to-face with them. So those are how we met our education and involvement standards. The next is illicit discharge. So this is just, part of this is just a summary of what illicit discharge is. So illicit discharge is defined essentially as anything that is not rainwater going down the storm drains or entering our storm sewer system. There are a few exceptions to that. You can drain unchlorinated pools. You can drain for firefighting activities. There's a few more, and those can all be found in the stormwater management ordinance, but a lot of them are things that happen as a result of like utility work and things like that you make an exception for. But you also try to those are things that they have found are not a significant pollutant to the waterways. Illicit discharge can have a detrimental effect on aquatic wildlife and ecosystems as a whole. The most common forms that we see are sediment, a lot of times from construction sites, oil from dumping, and then garbage dumping as well. So those are, we didn't have a lot of illicit discharge reported to us through a reporting system this year. I'd love to see that number get higher because I'm sure that it's happening. So if anybody has any ideas of how we can kind of push that information out for people to let me know if they see something that's not right or they see something that they think is an illicit discharge, I'm always going to take it seriously. And that's why I put this slide in here, even though this is an audio-only recording. You guys can see it, that illicit discharge complaints can always be recorded to me. That's my phone number. I'll say it out loud so people know it. It's 615-287-8658, and you can always email me at athompson@lavergnetn.gov, and I will always take it seriously and make sure that we come to a resolution and somebody has to get it cleaned up. And that's part of what we use our illicit discharge mapping for. We have gone through the city, and we have created a map that looks at every single stormwater piece of infrastructure so that, for example, if somebody on one of these dots, it's kind of hard to see it right there, but each of those has an arrow on it with the direction of flow. So if somebody were to dump oil into one of those green circles, which is an inlet in the street, then you can follow the direction that it flows to know where they would need to do cleanup and where we would need to check for the outfall to see, okay, did it make it all the way down here? And so we can know the real impact of what they had done. And that way we can really enforce cleanup a little bit better. So that's illicit discharge and how we're handling those requirements. For construction site runoff, in the city of Laverne, there are 48 active construction sites. So those are how many current land disturbance permits are issued at this moment. Some of those sites might be, they might not be super active right now, but their permit is still active. They may not be moving dirt, but the permit exists. That also, so one subdivision may have 200 lots, but that counts as one construction site, if that makes sense. Over the course of our permit year, we had 17 site plans reviewed. So we are required to review those with a certain set of standards to say, does this stormwater meet the quality and quantity that we require as a city? And all of 17 of those site plans were reviewed with those standards in mind. And I just think this next number is really important. When we go out to a construction site, we go every month. Every single lot, every single permitted site gets looked at once a month. And if they fail, they have to get a re-inspection saying, you have done something insufficient. You need to improve this site or fix this erosion control. And we had 437 re-inspections conducted last year. So our stormwater inspector is taking his job very seriously. He goes out and he makes sure that they're staying on top of their erosion control. So that's how we meet those standards. The next portion is permanent stormwater control measures. So permanent stormwater control is the stormwater structures that stay in place even after construction is over. So your detention ponds, retention ponds, if you have a water quality unit, that is something that has to be maintained in perpetuity for the life of the lot. So we have to measure how many of those structures are inspected. And over the course of our permit cycle, we had 10 land disturbance permits closed. So every time a permit is closed, that means that somebody from the engineering department went out, looked at the site, and said, this structure is compliant. It looks like it is to the standards that it was designed to be, and it's going to operate well in this space in perpetuity. So as long as it is maintained, it is correct when we pass the inspection. So in total in the city, we have that have been accepted. We have 130 permanent retention, detention, and bioretention ponds. And only 2 of those are out of compliance currently, and those are being handled through the acceptance process. So those are there is a plan in place to get those to the space they need to be. And there are going to be a lot more added to this as subdivisions get accepted. Every time, so there are some subdivisions coming online that will have 8, 10, 12 ponds that will be added to this list of things to maintain and be added into. This photo is of the GIS map that lists all of the permanent stormwater control measures. So they'll go into there where we'll have pictures and we'll save their inspections and those type of things. Good. So the next thing is good housekeeping, which is essentially the part of the permit where they say, okay, the city might be looking at what everybody else is doing. We need to be looking at what we're doing too, like the properties that we own and what we need to take care of. So we conduct quarterly inspections of the Public Works building, City Hall, and the Parks and Recreation buildings, because those are the ones that really apply under, they may have storage of material, they have large equipment, things like that being used at them, so they're really what falls under the permit as meeting these good housekeeping things. And last year we did roll out a new housekeeping program for our new Public Works facility. And to be honest, the building has been planned really well for this stormwater control. It has specific covered bays. The salt barn is covered, and it's a lot more contained than the old one used to be. So the maintenance of those is much easier than I think it was before, so that's really nice. And it's easier for us to say, okay, this is working. What can we change? How can we do this better? Which has been great. And those inspections include pond maintenance, material storage, the salt barn. We also have a water quality unit on site, which is essentially like a structure underground that takes the water through the pipes and then swirls it around and filters out the trash and sediment. So we have one of those that we have to maintenance. We try to do it quarterly, and we inspect all of our inlets that are on site. So some of the areas of improvement for the MS4 going forward. One thing to note when we talked about the permanent stormwater, the retention ponds, detention ponds, water quality units were originally not part of that survey that we did. So this upcoming year, the plan is to get those included into the list so it can be a complete list of our units. And then I also would like to focus some of our public education onto businesses in Laverne. A lot of our education is focused toward youth, which is great and it's important, but I think that there's a lot of room for adult and business education as well going forward. Perfect. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes. That detention pond by my house.
Yes, ma'am.
What's going to be done with it? Are they going to do anything with it? Are they going to clean it up? Or
So-
kids are playing in it?
So they just sent an inspection report for that one where it said that the recommendation was that they needed to clean it. And that was their private people that they hired said that they needed to do this. So I assume that their next step is going to be to follow what their inspection person told them to do.
Because it's so overgrown and trash is in there and kids are in there.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was listed, was that the trash needed to be removed.
Okay.
Circling back to the beginning,
Okay.
where you were talking about training,
Yeah.
employee training, you said you did it in 2025,
Yes, ma'am.
and the next one's 2030. How does that apply to new people, new employees coming in?
So as they get onboarded, they have to view the same video. So we have to make sure that they get the training within 6 months is the rule. But so during their first day, they go through a lot of training. Like they have one full day where they do a lot of different things. They learn about, okay, I can't think of a whole list. I'm not going to make something up. But but one of those things is the stormwater. And if they don't get time for it that day, they just give them the links for the videos, and then they have to watch them within a good period of time. Yep. Anything else?
Any questions or comments?
Everybody's looking at me.
That's it. Anything for us, ma'am?
Nope.
Sir?
That's all we got. Thanks for listening.
Actually, I have one
Oh,
thing for
yeah,
you.
what's up?
So like on the second or third slide, the outreach slide, you said you had 24 education events were conducted. What were those? Where were those?
So a lot of them are youth events. A lot of them are with schools. Most of them, so because it's a partnership between Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Rutherford County, and us, a lot of them happen in the Murfreesboro schools, but they're trying to target more Laverne schools when they reach out to do them. Because one thing I would like to do in this next year, we participate in a thing called Waterfest, which is a really big event that we do in Murfreesboro, but it typically, like 2 or 3 schools get to go, and it's like a first come, first serve situation. And they cycle through 6 different activities. One of them's like about invertebrates, one of them is about water safety, where they get to do kayaking stuff, and then they also do one just about general water life. It's a really, really cool day, but it's really limited, so only like 3 people get to do it. So we're starting a new thing called Mini Waterfest, where they go to the schools, and we just have like 4 stations, and then they cycle the kids through them. So I think that might be something that's more accessible for each individual school in Laverne to maybe be able to do. So that's something we're trying to bring here going forward, because a lot of it is centered in like Smyrna and Murfreesboro, because it's just part of our partnership, the Project Wet partnership.
So what can you do to bring more recognition, or just, get everybody's eyes focused on stormwater? Drive down our streets. There's trash and everything else. Tons of grass clippings from these men or all these people and these things just all out in the road. Then here last week it's been raining every other day. It just gets all washed down, which is all illicit.
Yeah.
So we're doing all these stuff for kids, but what are we doing to tell the people that live here, the adults that, own the houses and pay the taxes? What are we doing to make them understand how important it is to not do all this and not let it wash down those drains?
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the reason I think that's where we have a lot of room to grow, is because a lot of our education is focused, like I was saying, it's focused young. And that's why I want to do more of like business centered or adult centered, or because I said that public education doesn't have to be in person. Like we take a class and we do this. It can be like a pamphlet that we send out or we do. And there are, we're part of different organizations like the Tennessee Stormwater Association, where they have things like pamphlets that you can send out to an HOA, or you can do things that you can send to each individual homeowner. That's obviously a really large task to send it to 40,000 people, but that's one of my goals definitely going forward, is to try and target that a little bit better, because I think it's an area that I think gets missed a lot in our education. So I'd like to do some stuff that's probably it's going to be more written, I think, and then maybe having that be in multiple languages so that everybody can kind of get the sense of what we're talking about. Those are a lot of ideas that
I think what Jeff is asking, I think what Jeff is asking is, how do we scare people enough that they pay attention? And I'm not, I know it's funny, but I'm not joking, because most people would dismiss this kind of thing because they don't take into account that our drinking water comes from this.
So what I'll say is, when we have a case of illicit discharge where the hardest part, and I'll say without getting on a soapbox about all of it, is that you might see a lot of trash on the ground, but unless you have like a point source where you know for sure somebody is putting it in there, it's very difficult to hold somebody accountable for that. But so if we have a situation where I know 100% this is where it's coming from, I've got evidence to support it, I can say for sure this is the point of pollution, then we have the ability to fine $50,000 to $5,000 a day in our ordinance. And typically I will let people know that that's what's going to happen if it's not cleaned up and we don't go. And we've done it before, and I would do it again if I had to. It just typically we don't have the surety to know that we can go that route. So that's what we try to do. And I don't, my preference isn't to do education through enforcement. That's the difficult thing. So you prefer to get it on the positive side where you can say, hey, don't do this in the future, rather than, hey, you did this already, cleaned it up, and now you're going to learn about it. So I'd like to get more on the education side of things. And then if that, fails, or if we've got something else we need to do, then move forward with enforcement.
What age group are you thinking about with the education, or that they're currently doing in the other cities?
So currently the age group we do is 3rd and 4th grade, because that's what meets the Tennessee education standards. They have, in the 3rd grade one, there is one that talks about benthic invertebrates, or like the changing of animals, and that fits some of the way that we test water quality, so it fits there. And then in the 4th grade, they talk about like water use and land use and things, so it fits in with that better. So that's typically when they're the most interested in it as well. So that's if we were going to do the mini water fest, or if we were going to do something like that, 3rd and 4th grade is typically where we try to fit it in.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, everyone, for your time. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you guys.